So it says in 2 Kings 4:1, it says, "The wife of a man from the company of prophets cried out to Elisha, 'Your servant, my husband, is dead, and you know that he revered the Lord. But now his creditor is coming to take my two boys as his slaves.'" So we recognize that the widow was in a desperate financial situation. Her husband had passed away, and debts were threatening to take away her son, and she had nothing left, and the future seemed to be very hopeless. And one of the things that I tell people that we as Abundant Grace need to major on is we need to bring hope to people, whatever circumstances they're in. And so in this particular case, she had nothing, or did she? And so many of us have faced these seasons where we felt empty. Maybe you've struggled to pay bills. I know that Tina and I went through a couple of circumstances, especially after the destruction of our home. All of a sudden, things that we had and we counted on were no longer there. We had plenty of water. Our building had tons of water. I actually had people saying, "You need to start a water bottling company." I'm like, I'm trying to get the water out of my house, you know? And I won't lie, I did look at a machine that actually did the plastic bottles and things, just saying, well, what if they're right? And things. So we struggled, and it led to us feeling emotionally drained. And some days there were times in our life where we wondered, how do we make it through? What do we do? We've put all our energy, all our finance, everything we have into this place, and now we don't have it. And so we spent 5 years trying to resurrect that whole thing. But that loss was part of the impetus that brought us here to Keene and things. So we've faced those times. And so the widow's um, situation reminds us that even in our lowest moments, God hears our cries. In the midst of what she was going through, God brings a man whose name was Elisha to the table. And so, first and foremost, if you're going through something, always, always, always go to God first. God is our first place that we bring our troubles, our circumstances, our situations to. And when we do that, what we begin to find out is God brings people into our lives. He begins to bring circumstances into our lives. He begins to change things up. And it it's like God hears us, and then God begins to put the pieces in motion. And I want to say this, I think the pieces are always in motion and were even before we encountered the circumstances.